Hello, my name's Lynne Chapman and I illustrate children's books. And I'm halfway through a project at the moment called The Jungle Grumble. It's a story written by Julia Jarman. And I've got to the stage where I've finished doing all the pencil drawings. There's a lot of animals in this story, and so there were a lot of different characters for me to design, and I thought it made a good story to talk about characterization and how I actually create the individuals for each of the different creatures in the story. So basically, the story is about a bunch of animals who gather around the waterhole in the jungle, and they're all looking at their reflections and they're grumbling about the way they look. So they're all sort of thinking, well, my bottom's a bit big and my nose is too long, and they all really would like to look like each other. And so the lion comes along, who's a bit brighter than the others, and he says, oh, okay, if you really are unhappy, I will set you up a swap shop. And so he creates a kind of changing room in the trees where the animals can go in and swap their bits, surreal as that sounds. So they all have a grand time trying on each other's various bits and bobs, and then they have a big sort of fun parade in the jungle where they sort of dance around for all the other animals to sort of show off what they look like now. I won't give you away the end of the story, but that's enough to set the scene. So you can see from that drawing how many animals I've got to deal with. So it always takes a bit longer if you've got a whole cast of animals rather than just a family of crocodiles, obviously, because you have to design them all. The way I start is by going on the internet and getting photographs. So I find different poses of each animal, so I can see them sort of from the side, I can see close-ups of the face, I can see long shots of the body, and then I draw from that as reference. But obviously you don't want the pictures to be realistic. You want them to be cute and funny and more picture book friendly. That's the tricky bit of the process, actually turning one thing into the other. So if you look at these pictures of elephants, you can see what I've done is altered the relationship of the size between the head and the body. That's a big thing that helps to make your characters look cuter. Often legs might be less long, ears might be bigger. You exaggerate certain features depending on what animal you're looking at. With the elephant, I'm trying out different ways to make his face suggest different personalities. And the main devices that I use for that are moving the eyes around. You can see in some of them the eyes are together. On other pictures the eyes are further apart. On this one they're very far apart. On some of them they're right at the top of his head, on others they're further down. Each one of those different variables makes a huge difference to the character of the elephant. And I think I decided that this one was the one that just felt right for the character. And so you can see, I drew him sitting down, by the way, because he's going to be sitting down in the final drawing. Here we go. And this is how he looks in the final drawing that I've done. So I do that with each of the animals. You can see on this sheet there's lots of different crocodile heads. One of the things I've been trying out with the crocodile is whether to give him round eyes or slightly flattened lozenge-shaped eyes. Again, whether to have them close together or whether to separate them. One of the things I liked about some of the crocodile reference I found was that they had those kind of particularly long and thin noses, which felt quite characterful on its own. So I've kept that feature of the very long nose. But again, if you look at the different noses in the little sketches I've done, some of them turn up, some of them turn down. And it just again gives a slightly different variation to the character. So this was the one that I felt that I wanted to go with the crocodile. There's a whole sheet here of different animals that I've been working on. So we've got flamingo, a zebra, giraffe, a little monkey. The giraffe in particular I felt was a good one to show you because, again, just changing the way the eyes are placed on the head and changing the shape of the nose makes a massive difference. When I looked at real giraffes, I was surprised to find actually that their noses were very thin and slender and long. So I decided to go with that and keep that slenderness to the nose. The monkey character is quite interesting. Originally, Julia Jarman wrote the monkey as a blue-bottomed baboon. When I went and looked up the photographs, I discovered that a blue-bottomed baboon doesn't actually exist. So I thought, okay, so I went back to my editor and we spoke to Julia and we sort of had a cross-conversation about what we could do about this. And my editor found another monkey that does have a blue bottom, and he's called a Lasula monkey. And apparently he's just been discovered. And so I got a picture of this Lasula monkey, and as you can see from this photograph, he's actually a rather sad and slightly strange looking creature, quite human, but definitely melancholy. So that obviously wasn't a feature that I wanted to keep, but I still had to keep the flavour of the monkey. So this is a drawing that I did from the photographs that I found. So it's quite a reasonably realistic representation with sort of notes and things. And then if you look at this sheet, this is then taking that original sketch and then just only adjusting it slightly really, not doing massive things to it, but little things again that make the difference. So that was the first one that I did, which is still reasonably similar to the original, but I've made the eyes a lot bigger and I've made the head bigger in relation to the body, and I've made the tail a more sort of standard, just sort of same kind of width all the way down tail. Then I did this one, and as you can see I've made the eyes very slightly smaller again and slightly further apart. And then I tried a different one again where I gave him a little bit of fluffy hair on the top of his head. The eyes are back closer together, and the sort of fluffy bit of his head is smaller in relation to the face bit of his head. I've also straightened out his body a bit, so it's just a bit more simple really. And that was the one again that I decided that I was going to go with. You can see, you can see in this image where it's right at the beginning of the story where he's sitting on a rock looking at his reflection, deciding that he doesn't look as pretty as he would like. You can see how that has now worked. So that's basically how I create the characterization. It varies enormously with the different animals, and some of them are more tricky than others, and some of them almost write themselves. And there's an aardvark in it that I just sketched him the first time, and I'm not going to be able to find him. Oh, there he is. I sketched him the first time, and he just looked great. I thought, that's it. So I didn't have to mess with him at all. That was just a lucky chance. Others, it takes you forever, and you just really can't get it right, and you just draw it over and over and over again. Eventually, you can find a way to bring out certain features and simplify others so that they're not a problem, and that's the way it's done.